Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. In this episode, I want to talk a little bit about carbon taxes. So, carbon taxes are cringe. Carbon taxes are essentially a mechanism through which the working people of Canada, of the United States, of the Western countries are ultimately saddled with a tax burden for basic consumption. You know, you need to pay for gas, you need to, buy groceries, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, petroleum goes into the production of all kinds of aspects of the economy, food production, etc. You are going to be ultimately bearing the cost of that. You know, as businesses have to pay the taxes, they will offset that to the consumer. And additionally, it really is an unfortunate mechanism because it disproportionately targets the working class people in our nations, and it is ultimately implemented at the behest of those who essentially are, neoliberal, internationalist, environmental nutters, that they have big egos and they have a great sense of vanity, and they will impose endless deadweight loss upon our economies to appease and to satisfy their vanity and their ego so that they can appear virtuous and that they are doing the right thing in the face of, evil climate change and all that kind of stuff. And yet, at the end of the day, we can essentially view carbon taxes as, in a sense, a form of class warfare by the neoliberal elites against the working people. And there's something that we really do need to kind of seriously address, because yes, climate change is real. And yes, we are not fans of pollution. And ideally, we do want to transition towards a more energy efficient economy. I will have a video out soon talking about how I want to drill a lot of oil. I want to undermine and undercut fascist Russia. And I want to get Europe off of their dependence on Russia for oil. But I also support green energy at home. I support green energy in Canada. I support green energy in the US, because if we are a lot more energy efficient here, then we'll consume less oil so that we can ship more abroad. So it's a little bit more nuanced, right? Carbon taxes undermine that too. Carbon taxes regard the entire oil industry essentially as just bad. And they regard oil consumption as bad. And again, I talk about the vanity, I talk about the ego, I talk about the virtue signaling sensibilities of the neoliberal elites in this case that support the carbon taxes. Well, there is another factor to this. It's that they essentially view the working people as dirty. They and their supporters are, they're by and large, urban dwelling college kids, or they're in like these very prestigious sort of white collar jobs, or literally in the government around the prime minister, that sort of thing. And they, in their privilege, and because their parents are upper middle class or greater in terms of their social status, they've never really had to deal with the real life conditions on the ground for working Canadians and Americans. And they view those people essentially as dirty, as backwards, as conservative, as not PC, etc. Right? And so the carbon tax then becomes a means, a mechanism through which they can exact their sense of vile disregard and animosity towards the working classes, right? And again, I'm not against green energy here. My friend Wyatt talks about how one good way to stimulate a free market approach to transitioning towards a more energy efficient economy is to offer tax incentives to going green, rather than punishing people for consuming fossil fuels when the vast bulk of people don't really even necessarily have a choice. And again, as I was talking about, the vast degree of privilege here, it's palpable in terms of its volume, because we can see very clearly here Trudeau, his associates, the neoliberal elites, by and large, they are wealthy. They are high income earning, and their families are likewise, and so they can afford to just buy a new Tesla and then upgrade it the next few years, and so on and so forth, and they can show how they're saving the planet and how, isn't it so virtuous and everything. And it's like, no, you're very economically privileged, and some of you earned it, some of you were born into it, but you have means that other people simply don't have access to. So yeah, it's a flex, but at the same time, it would be one thing to flex and say, look at how awesome my stuff is. I worked hard for this or whatever. That's cool. We're capitalists. That's cool. But no, it's this, oh, see, I have this Tesla. I'm not polluting. And you have like this big truck that pollutes. Ooh, you're dirty. And it's like, yeah, but a lot of people have big trucks because they do work that require big trucks. And those big trucks generally take like diesel fuel, or they require petroleum. There are very few electric trucks out there in the Canadian and American economies right now. Carbon taxes, they really are counterproductive in that sense. And something that my friend Arthur talked about in one of the recent chats, he said basically, the carbon taxes, they're a way to just turn the working people off to the cause of energy efficiency in the economy. And that's true. It's just it's a kind of class warfare. It's a mechanism through which animosity by those in the elite class can exact their sense of moral righteousness, self-righteousness, etc., against those who are not less fortunate, working class, etc., less privileged. Why not just simply offer carrots instead of these sticks that hurt the economy and generate such deadweight loss? If we went a route of subsidies, for example, that would be better. That would be a lot better. Tax incentives would be very good, very good. And that is an alternative here. To me, when I see the carbon taxes, I see a desire to punish, And yes, there are rebates offered in Canada. There are rebates offered, but they don't arrive the second you have to pay the bills at the pump. That's not how it works. They typically arrive quarterly, every season. And even if they do tend to offset the cost imposed by the taxes, again, it's delayed. Why not instead not impose the burden in the first place? Let people do what they're going to do, but then offer businesses incentives for transitioning towards more energy efficient means of production, as well as to the auto industry, offer more incentives in terms of tax incentives and whatnot for moving things in a more energy efficient direction. That will benefit us all in the long run, absolutely. And as I said before, and I will say in an upcoming video, it will free more of our economy up so that instead of having to consume more oil, as we've been doing, we can now ship that to Europe and the rest of the world, and thereby undercut Russia and help defeat them without having to, go the other route, which is essentially a nuclear war. And nobody wants to see that. So thank you for watching. I'm Kevin Castley. Be sure to subscribe to Superpower Broadcasting. I do daily streams as well as daily premieres to YouTube. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.